Okay, so I am going to get started. Okay, so you've come online or you're watching this video because you want to know a bit more about what is true health. Now, there is so much information around explaining about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. It probably gets quite confusing. Um, and everything can cause your body to break down, and then there's a magic pill that's going to fix everything. Well, unfortunately, the reality is that health is something that we need to work on every single day of our lives, because the choices we make through our life accumulate. They build up like miles on a car. They and eventually they start to show up as either lack of energy, or illness, or symptoms, or maybe just not feeling your best. And that, I think, perhaps is the vast majority of people that we see in practice. They have had a problem for a long period of time, and now they're actually just not feeling their best. And the problem is obviously an issue, but it's the inability to adapt to that problem, an inability to move forward, that I think really causes a lot of people a lot of stress. So the first thing that I wanted to say is that true health goes so far beyond just not being sick. There is a very common misconception that if you don't have symptoms, then you are well, which unfortunately is not the case. The reality is that by the time symptoms are actually showing, and not just showing, but are not going away, the system has moved so far beyond a state of natural ease that it's now starting to struggle. So what we look after in practice and what we care about the most is people being in a natural state of ease. Now, we might say that a lot, and that means a lot to us, but I want to explain to you what that ease is. So every second of every day, your body is in a state of what we call homeostasis. This is when your body is trying to keep everything appropriately level, so that your body can then go up again. So if you think about your resting heart rate should be around 70 beats per minute, because when you're resting, that's the amount of rhythm that's required to keep your blood flowing in a natural, calm way. And you should absolutely be able to bounce up if your heart rate needs to increase, but then a healthy person and somebody who's truly healthy will go back down again, so they won't bounce up and down. Same with oxygen. If you are running, or you expend a lot of oxygen because you're maybe sprinting or something, some of us might sprint, then your oxygen levels are going to drop because you'll be in an oxygen debt. But the moment you start breathing properly, then your oxygen levels will return back to sort of 98 to 100% oxygen levels to be optimally at ease. And the same goes actually for your posture. So when you're walking around, your muscles in your neck and in your back should not be overworking to keep you upright. They should be able to match completely at ease the demands of gravity, so that as you're walking around, you're not overworking and you don't have overtension just to keep yourself upright. It should be a complete state of balance. And when we find that people are overstressed, we start seeing these really important health parameters getting stretched. So, for example, a classic one which people do understand is the condition which is diabetes. So diabetes type 2 is caused by having sustained levels of blood sugar for a long period of time, which your body is then not able to correct. So a person who is healthy can have a load of sweets and their sugar levels will return to normal very quickly. Somebody who is diabetic, they will not return to normal. And that is because the endocrine system, which controls those sugar levels, do not return to normal because they have been overstretched for too long. Somebody who has perfect vitality with regards to their muscular system, they can do a long walk or a long day at work, and even if they feel achy towards the end of the day and the muscles are tight because they've been working, they should be able to then bounce back, so the next day they wake up fine. So what I would always say to people is, if they've got a muscle strain or a bit of tension which they've noticed, your body will heal and it will go away within 24 hours to 36 hours maybe, if you are healthy. However, if your system is at its biggest, at its most stretched, then it's not going to bounce back as well. And that's when we start seeing these problems accumulate. So it's all about being at the state of ease. And I think when you think about like a sleeping baby, they are at perfect state of ease. So their belly is just breathing really nicely. They're not stressed. Their temperature is regulated. Their heart rate is beautiful. Their digestion is bubbling away. They're just in a complete state of ease. And why is that not happening to us as adults, right? So when we look at people initially in practice, we look at the actual chiropractic exam, which is measuring the movement of the spinal segments of the cranium and of the pelvis. But really importantly, we look at the actual health of the nervous system. And it's the nervous system which, I think, when I ask people did they know what it is, a lot of people don't know, because they haven't studied anatomy to a high level. Maybe it's just not on their radar. So I think it's important, in order to move forward with the conversation of what is true health, we need to first understand that. Okay, so if we talk about it in a really basic way, which is that the body is made up of 3 systems. You have the first system, which is what we call like the passive system. So that is made up of your bones and your joints. They do not do anything of their own accord. They are just mechanical parts of you which fit together. They don't act alone, and they do not cause dysfunction. They do not have the ability to cause dysfunction as a bone and a joint. Then you have the active system, which is your muscular system, which is what allows you to move. Now, a lot of people focus on the muscular system as being the cause of dysfunction, but muscles do not act on their own. They have to be coordinated and regulated and controlled by the third system. And the third system is your nervous system. And that is what we call the master system, because it's your brain, it's your spinal cord, it's your nervous system which runs out of your spinal cord. And it absolutely is responsible for dysfunction, because it regulates you. It keeps your endocrine organs and your lymph organs all releasing the appropriate amount of fluids and appropriate levels of steroids and hormones and everything that we need, digestive fluids. Said fluids a lot there. And your nervous system, sorry, I've lost my train of thought a second. nervous system controls your endocrine system, but it also controls your blood system, your digestive system, your movement system. So it's responsible for where the problems are, and it's up here in your brain. So there are two parts. There's the part which we're aware of, which is the part you're using right now to think about what you're doing every day, to process what I'm saying, to decide what time you go to bed. You have the part of your brain which you're aware of and you're in control of, which is the human part. It's what gives us conscious thought. But then you also have the autonomic part, which I learned when I was studying as like the automatic system. So this is the nervous system which controls how well your digestion works, how regular your cycles are, how your breathing regulates when you're running, how well your heart rate regulates. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background. Sorry to go into the anatomy of it, but if you don't understand what the nervous system does, it's hard to talk about how to get it to be healthy and what effect that can have. So when we talk about true health, we aren't just talking about people not having symptoms. We're talking about somebody being at such a high state of sustained ease that they can handle life, basically. And they don't dip, they don't drop down, they don't not heal. So, for example, you can have a really super healthy person like that has got everything in perfect regulation, the equivalent of that sleeping baby, everything is beautiful, but they can get hit by a cow and they can end up having concussion and break something. I said cow because it's appropriate for the area. That person is still healthy, they are just injured, they've had a stress. So just because something's injured doesn't mean you're no longer healthy. And a healthy person, so if you have a healthy person going into with a system that's at ease, going into, say, hip surgery or some kind of surgery if they've broken their ligament or something, if a healthy person goes into surgery versus somebody whose system is stressed, who the parameters are stretched, maybe their heart rate is high, their blood pressure is high, their muscle tone is high, their nervous system is under stress. Those two people who on the outside may not have any symptoms, but both going in for the same, let's call it an ACL ligament surgery, the healthy person is going to bounce back a lot quicker than the person with already underlying health issues, the person whose system is already stretched. So it's so relevant to talk about this at the moment. And I'm going to say the word, begins with C, rhymes with Ovid. We're all very aware of the pandemic that's going on at the moment. I'm hoping that it hasn't affected anybody too much. The running principle that we are all so aware of is that the people who are most at risk of not recovering from this virus or any virus are people who have got underlying health conditions. So what people then think about is they think about people that are actually very, very, very sick. So people who are diabetic, people who maybe have cancer treatment, people who are very unwell. But in actual fact, if we look at, say, somebody we all know, whether we like him or not, if we look at Boris Johnson, he got COVID. Everyone goes, oh, well, he was healthy and, he ended up in hospital. Let's discuss that. Let's think, he doesn't have cancer. He doesn't have diabetes. He doesn't have anything which has been medically diagnosed. However, as far as I know, I'm sure that would have come up in the news if he was. However, he is not at ease. He is the Prime Minister. Whether we like him or not, he is under a lot of stress. He is overweight. He does not sleep well. I guarantee you that. He doesn't have a regular sleep pattern. He's going to be in a constant state of stress. So his system is not going to bounce back as well as somebody else who does sleep well, who is in a state of ease, who does have good oxygen levels, who does have a healthy resting heart rate, who does have the ability to bounce back. And unfortunately, the reality is we just don't know how healthy we are unless we have a symptom. And this is what we spend so much time doing in practice, is making sure that everyone we see is not just feeling better as in their symptoms are gone or improving, but also their underlying health is actually high enough so that if they were to have a stressful incident, or they were to have an injury, or they were to have their parameters stretched, they would be able to bounce back quicker, because it's about what we have in reserve, which is what makes us different from being a healthy person to being an unhealthy person. So I'm just going to let you digest that for a second. If anyone's got any questions, just say. Okay. So the main principle that was really focusing on is that just because you don't have any symptoms doesn't mean that you're healthy. Being healthy is about being at a constant state of ease, which means that you're able to bounce back, you're able to regulate your hormones, you're able to regulate your digestion, you're able to regulate your posture, your sugar levels, your heart rate. That is a healthy person, because their body is in a constant state of ease. So I wanted to introduce a concept that I would like you to absorb. So there's loads of information out there, but if you don't really have a guideline to apply it to, then how do we know what to do every day? How do we know how to make the right choices? So something I've prepared. This is when my long line of teachers comes out. Okay, so this is what I call my vitality tank, and I'm hoping that this isn't actually just backwards. Can anyone tell me if that is just backwards on the screen? Because it looks backwards on my screen, which makes it really hard to read. Okay, I'll talk you through it anyway. No one's telling me. Okay, so if you imagine everyone has a tank. I have a tank. You all have tanks. And that tank is full of energy. And that energy is what runs our system. It's what keeps everything at ease. It's what keeps all the organs, the muscles, all happy and repairing and regulating every day. So when you are at the top, you have got a sustained level of ease. So if you want to be healthy, oh, perfect. Thank you, Marie. If you want to be healthy, you need to be up here. Okay. So what takes away from the energy in our tank? That's the big question. What makes it drop? Okay, now it isn't just as straightforward as stress. Okay, I didn't want to just tell you stress, because stress means different things to different people. And as someone pointed out to me the other day, yeah, there is such a good thing as good stress. Because good stress can actually be you pushing into a project, or building a house, or creating a new opportunity for yourself. That's a bit stressful, but it's actually the sustained stress is what causes our parameters to change and for our tank to drop. So I want to see if this applies to any of you. So the first one, which I've written down, is healing and either an injury or an illness. So actually, if I've got a really high tank, but you have ripped a ligament, for example, you've fallen off your horse, as I did a few years ago, and torn my ACL, or you've fallen and you've dislocated your collarbone, or had a car accident and you've got a whiplash injury, then your body has to heal that. So that actually does require more energy, People always wonder why they get tired when they're ill. It's because your body is having to fight something. It requires energy to do it. It really does. When you think about the amount of cells that have got to be reproduced and amount of reorganization that's got to happen and compensation that's got to happen, if that was actually your job, if you were in there doing it, you would be tired. It's a big job that your body has to do. So absolutely, when you are healing or you have an illness, that is going to take away from your energy. So, which is going to drop your tank from being sustained ease to down to either ease, no symptoms, which is not ideal, but because you're in dis-ease, or pain. Okay. The next one is high impact activity. Now, this is something which I think probably raises the most amount of eyebrows. Exercise is really good for you. There is no two ways about it. However, high impact activities such as running or weightlifting or an activity which you haven't built up to, such as suddenly been walking the 3 Eildons when you haven't walked in a while, that is going to require a lot of energy, which your body will do for you, but it will take a lot from your tank. So just as a starter, if somebody's had a whiplash injury and they're doing high impact activity, then they are going to be using up their energy in their tank a lot quicker than somebody who didn't have one of those. So if you think of everything on this side as being things which take your system away from being at ease and is more of a challenge for it to return back to normal. So the next one is emotional stress. Now, emotional stress is actually something that we all feel, men and women, whether we show it or not. You don't have to be an outwardly emotional person to just be the people which experience this. If your brain is processing something, even quietly and silently to yourself, your body is going to be responding. It's going to be trying to figure things out. It's going to be releasing cortisol. It's going to be using energy to process. Think of it that way. So emotional stress is going to lower your vitality tank, which when it's on thereof of itself without anything else, in fact, all of these on their own, when it's there for a long period of time, will drop your tank down, because stress is all relative to how long it's been there for, how much damage is caused, and how many different stresses somebody has at one time. So the next one, I've written diet. Okay, now this is a huge subject, one which I don't actually like going into too much because I'm not a dietitian, but I wanted to introduce the concept that actually diet is incredibly important, and eating inappropriately is going to take away energy from your tank. So when you have a lot of sugar, your pancreas has to release a lot of insulin, and your body has to work very hard to bring things down to normal. So if you're constantly having sugar throughout your day, this is refined sugars which we get in processed juices, cereals, white breads. This isn't necessarily just like a Haribo. It's in so many products we don't even realize, and these companies, they know that when people are stressed, they crave sugar. So they're just going to get you more stressed and make you buy more sugar. So don't play their game. Do not play their game, because it actually will take away from your vitality. And the amount of people that I have seen in my career that actually try so hard to be healthy, but they drink a big 2-liter thing of Pepsi Max every day, and have a big old thing of Snickers or something. To be honest, I was thinking about the Pepsi thing, because I actually had someone that I didn't understand why they weren't healing very quickly. And it was because they were just having such a high intake of sugar, and they had done for so long. It wasn't like a one-off treat. It was a sustained level of stress. So that takes away from your vitality tank. Low water. When your body is dehydrated, it is actually quite stressful because you have to have water in your body. So your kidneys have to rebalance you. So that actually requires energy to do. It's like, all right, guys, we're a bit low on water, so we're going to have to work really hard to take water from the urine and reabsorb it and bring it back into our body. So when you're not drinking enough water, that does actually affect your vitality tank. The next one is irregular sleep. Now, all I can do is say that if you can't get out of the fact that you've got irregular sleep because you have children or because you work shifts, then all I would say is, okay, you can't do anything about that, but focus more on this side, which we'll come to in a second. But irregular sleep, if you are choosing to have late nights and long lie-ins and short nights and long nights, and you don't have to, then all you're doing is actually causing your body clock to go into a state of stress, because it's literally like your brain has evolved over time to think, I'm happy, I'm safe, I know what time I'm going to bed, I know what time I'm waking up, everything is great. But when you're not getting that sleep, it actually gets a bit panicky. And it starts releasing that stress hormone, which causes you to age quicker, causes your body to be less at ease. So if you're choosing to do this, have a think about it. And the last one is a poor nervous system. As we talked about the three systems: the passive system, the active system, and the nervous system, the master system. So that is directly related to how well your spine and your cranium and your pelvis are actually aligned and how well they're moving. So even if you have no symptoms at all, but want to keep your tank full, then you need to make sure that your alignment and your nervous system is right. Because otherwise, even if you've got nothing else, this will bring your tank down, which means you don't heal, you don't recover, you don't live in vitality, which means at the end of the day, you don't do a lot, because you're constantly in fight or flight mode. I'm just going to open my curtain a second. Sorry, the light was on my screen before, so I couldn't see anything, but it's getting a bit nicer now. Okay, so this is what takes away from your vitality tank. I'm actually going to write vitality tank. And people always talk about, I don't think, unless you've actually experienced being in vitality, it doesn't mean anything to you. So somebody who's got high vitality, they are the ones who are the people that do a lot, that are, constantly trying to come up with new projects. Maybe they're creative, maybe they're always organizing things. They just have enough energy to do it because they're not living in a state of survive, they're thriving. My good friend and colleague Donald Francis is a great example of somebody who is thriving. He's been writing all the time. He's been working in practice. He's been writing a book. He's been coordinating a book. He's got 3 children. He's got a farm that he helps run. Me and my partner Ali, we're always planning trips, and we're organising the team, and we're repainting our house, and we have the energy to do that because we thrive. And I'm not boasting. I'm just saying that when you are aware of what you can do, you can actually get on with stuff. Alistair Lever, whenever he's off, whenever he's off and he's not with his family, he's up the hills cycling, and that boy does not injure himself. Touch wood. So and he's thriving. So What do we do to thrive and have a full vitality tank? Okay, so this is this side. This is what goes in. So if you've got a lot on this side, we've got to put a lot on this side. It's a balancing act. Okay, so regular activity, so important. Making sure, I would always recommend walking. Okay, your body does not find walking stressful, particularly if you've got a healthy nervous system, because your joints move evenly, your muscles move evenly. It's low impact, and your brain really likes it. It actually goes into a slightly more calm state when you walk. So regular activity does not mean putting yourself through a lot of physical stress, but keeping yourself moving because your body likes low impact regular movement. Like yoga is brilliant because it's low impact, walking is brilliant, swimming is brilliant, but running and weightlifting is higher impact. I'll answer your question in a minute, Enid. Absolutely. So the next one, relaxation. So a lot of people talk about relaxing, and actually it's a mind and body decision. You can't just sit in a room or if you go to a spa. So I went to a spa day once. I don't know if anyone else has ever been to a spa day, and I was just floating around in the bubbles and letting my mind just wander, and it was beautiful. And then there was these two ladies that were next to me that were they were putting the world to rights. They were talking about everything in their life that was stressful. They were complaining about the pool. They were talking about other people in the pool. Even though they were in the same environment as me, they were not relaxing. So relaxing isn't just about doing, it's about being. You have to actually be relaxed to feel the benefits of relaxing. Because it's a physiological change. Your heart rate slows down, your oxygen levels go up, your cortisol levels go down, your actual brain waves change. Meditation is brilliant, listening to nice, tranquil music, talking about something positive. Hopefully this call would be a certain amount of relaxation for you. The next one is diet. Good quality diet does not take your system into a state of stress because it doesn't have to work really hard to rebalance. Next one, water. If your brain and your kidneys are talking to each other and say, look, we've got plenty of water, we're fine, don't have to do a lot of work. 2 litres a day, your system stays nice and hydrated, does not take away from your tank. If anything, days and days of being really hydrated are going to just fill your tank, and then your body can actually not worry about it and have what it needs. The next one is regular sleep. Regular and enough sleep. How much people actually need is a really individual thing. It's anywhere between 6 to 9 hours. It does depend on age, it depends on activity, and it's a personality thing as well. But regular sleep means that your mind can actually relax. The next one is a healthy nervous system. So if you've got everything on this side going on, you need to make sure you have a healthy nervous system, because otherwise your body is just going to drop and drop and drop. So if we focus on the middle bit, most people who come to see us are here in pain. Most people who are walking around are actually here, no symptoms, and they are what we call at dis-ease. So their system is not going to be particularly in balance. After a long time of doing this, whether it be focusing on your diet, having regular sleep, having chiropractic, doing meditation, regular activity, pick one, any of these, if you're doing more of this and less of this, you're going to rise and you're going to become more at a state of ease, but it won't last. So a more stressed week or a stressful event is going to drop you down quicker because your tank isn't full, it's 3/4 full. Okay, somebody who's at sustained ease, they're the ones that will have an interaction with a virus or a stressful interaction, and they will bounce back really quickly. So that's my vitality tank, which I always refer to in my mind, because some people decide that okay, I've had a treat meal, therefore I'm going to forget about all other things. But it is a balancing act. You can have a make a decision more on the red side, like a late night, maybe a sugary meal. But then if you focus on the green side, where you have regular activity, um, you get adjusted, you meditate, then there is always a balancing act in life. And it's about not living in the red zone, because you live in the red zone, unfortunately you will end up at the bottom. That's not even that's just a reality of life. And you could change pain for illness. So to answer your question, Enid, don't you think that age will deplete the vitality? As I've got older, I noticed that my tank is obviously not as full as it used to be. Okay. What I would say to that actually is it's more likely that there's been a sustained stress. So say, for example, somebody, I don't even know how old you are, Enid, but say, for example, you've had a dodgy night's sleep, for 30 years. It's not going to affect your energy very quickly. It's not going to affect your vitality tank very quickly. However, when you have got even just one stress, okay, 80. So even if you have one stress for a long period of time, then that will drop it. So there'll be three things that will really affect how much stress it causes to your body. One, how big the stress is. Two, how long it's been there. And three, the amount of different stresses. So no, I don't think that age naturally causes your vitality to lower. I don't think that's an inevitable thing. I just think that perhaps the reality of time has caused there to be more stress in the system, even if it's just been little stresses, because they have accumulated. And if you are feeling lower energy, then and your tank is a bit lower, then I would just be really focusing. I was warned by my mother that each decade would reduce the amount that I could do. Well, maybe there was a bit of an expectation then. I don't know. It's not always the case. It's not always the case. I've met 80-year-olds that are fitter than I am. And that's why I can't say it's an age thing, because I've met plenty of 80-year-olds that walk further than the 30-year-olds that I see. So I do think naturally your system is going to have worked harder because it's worked for longer. And I would say that if you are feeling your vitality tank is low, focus on the green. Try and do less of the red. And who knows, maybe so you've done 8 decades, so your 9th decade will be perhaps better than the last one. It's just about trying to think about where those biggest stresses are in your life, I guess. So I've introduced 2 massive concepts to you, and I've talked a hell of a lot, and I've gone over to 42 minutes, and I promised I'd be half an hour. I really hope this has been beneficial. I hope that you take something from today. And even if, do you know what the reason why I do these talks is? Because even if you will make just one more decision over towards the green side and one less decision on the red, even half the week, then over time your vitality is going to be greater. Maybe it's time I got around to seeing Donald again. Yes. I tell you what, if you're doing everything else, Enid, then look at the nervous system. Look to the nervous system for answers of true health. Marie, been great. Thanks. Thank you so much, Marie. Right. Does anyone have any questions? So I'm not gonna talk. I haven't got any more to share, but I'm gonna hang around if anyone's got any questions that they wanna ask. It's been lovely. So if you want to invite people to watch this, then we're going to save it and put it on our YouTube channel. We're also going to say to you guys that if you do want to find out any more about the vitality tests that I've talked about, the scans that we do in practice, which measure those health underlying health profiles, then just let your chiropractor know, or give the team a call, and we'll get that booked in for you. See if we can help you, and see if there's anything more that can be done. I hope that's been good. Okay. I think you guys are awesome. People get cross when I say guys. Right. I'm logging off. Take care, everyone. See you soon.